Welcome to America with Lloyd Chapman and Bruce DeTorres. It is the Thursday before Election Day. Lloyd, how are you?
I'm tremendous.
And I know you want to talk about censorship. What is going on?
They're censoring the crap out of me on social media. It's
Okay.
amazing.
All right.
It's creepy. I tell you something. I started getting censored about 35 years ago when I won my first case in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, and I was supposed to go on the I think Today Show with Brian Gumbel, and that got canceled.
Wow. Which Court of Appeals was it?
Ninth Circuit. I won my
Right.
first big lawsuit against the government on the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. It forced the Pentagon to release documents that show that they've been lying to Congress about the volume of contracts going to small businesses, for decades.
Okay.
And but I've been censored a lot.
Well, you've done such seminal work on behalf of America's small businesses. Let me get this out of the way. People have to go to the American Small Business League, your website, ASB as in boy, L.com to see the 110 lawsuits against the federal government on behalf of small businesses there.
99.9% of all the business in America are small businesses, and nobody talks about it.
Yeah.
Nobody mentions it. It's not talked about in political campaigns. Nobody mentions it. So they're 0.1% of the companies in America are large businesses, and that's all they talk about. That's all that's on the news.
Yep.
That's all they talk about. Trump's going to bring manufacturing back to America. That's that 1/10. I'm pro-Trump because I'm pro-Bobby Kennedy. If Kennedy had endorsed Kamala Harris, I'd be working, trying to get her elected, right?
Right.
So I'm a Bobby Kennedy guy.
Yep.
I also love Elon Musk and Tulsi Gabbard and Nicole Shanahan, right?
Right.
And Tucker Carlson. So I'm wasn't a Trump fan, but I'm a fan of all those other people. So I'm trying to get him elected. It just strikes me as bizarre. That's a statistical fact. If you got a cell phone, say, "Hey Siri, what percentage of U.S. firms are small business?" She'll tell you 99.9, and it's unknown. It's unknown to the American people. If you go out, and talk to 1,000 people on the street and ask them what percentage of U.S. firms are small businesses, no one's going to say 99.9, right? They'll probably say 20, 30, 40, 50, something like that. Trump doesn't know that.
And there's a law, the Small Business Act 1953, that says 23% of federal contracts should be going to small businesses. But Lloyd Chapman exposes the fact that only 3% of federal contracts go to small businesses, and 97% of federal contracts go to point what? 1%.
1/10 of 1% of the companies. It's insane.
1/10 of 1% of the companies, which are the gigantic Fortune 500 and bigger firms. And that's why there's collusion and a concerted effort to shut down what you have to say. Now, the table is set to talk about censorship.
A few weeks ago, I contacted someone on the Kennedy campaign, and they got me uncensored for about 3 days.
On what platform?
On X or Twitter, right? X, they call it X. So I could tell it was being censored because, I've been on every news program in America. I've been on every news program in America. I've been in every major newspaper in America. I've testified for Congress. I've written legislation. I've been in every office in the House and the Senate, right? I think a journalist told me one time there were 1,800 stories that mentioned my name on the internet, like LexisNexis, right? I went on. I could tell that something was happening because my office phone was ringing 50 to 100 times a day. Journalists, small business owners, a lot of people in Congress wanted me to sponsor their bills. Lots of activity. It stopped one day to the next. Well, it's impossible. That's impossible, right? But as it was degenerating, I thought I'll try a little trick. I was on national television, 2-3 times a month. And at that time, I lived in Northern California. I lived in Marin County, and all the TV studios were in San Francisco. So I'd go down on Battery Street in San Francisco and do these, remotes, for all the different TV stations. And I went on the Neil Cavuto show, and I called Obama a con man and a liar. I think I've told you this story. And Obama had lied to me. I mean, I worked on his campaign like 12 hours a day for like a year. And he released a statement that says it's time to end the diversion of federal small business contracts to corporate giants, which is, what I've been working on for 35 years. So I'm a real big, Obama guy. He gets elected and does a 180 on that, right? In fact, he tried to close the SBA, but we won't talk about that. So I go on Neil Cavuto's show and call Obama a con man and liar. The producer says, "You're going to be busy tomorrow, buddy. You're going to get 1 million phone calls." He says, "You'll get 1,000 death threats." He said, "You just called a popular African-American president a con man and a liar." All right. Nothing. Not one phone call, nothing. That's impossible. I went back a week later to do another show, and I told the guy, he said, "That's impossible." He said, "You cannot go on national television with millions of people watching and call a popular African-American president a con man and a liar and not get at least," he said, his exact words are, "You're more likely to get 1 million emails and phone calls than zero." But that's what happened. That's when I knew they had shut down my phone and all my communications, right?
Right. This
But
is
again,
like 2012 or something like that?
that was, oh gosh, probably
2014?
2012.
Okay.
And
Okay.
then a few months later, I heard the Minch Group out of Washington, D.C., excuse me, out of New York. I think I've told this story before. I don't want to bore people, but it's one of the largest investigative firms on earth. And they conducted a very extensive, investigation. They come back and they said, a large international company has compromised all your communications, and we can't tell who it is, right? And that was like 10 years ago. So flash forward to, what is this?
2024.
October of 2024. And I'm heavily censored on social media. I could tell I was being censored on X by looking at other people and how many followers they had, the number of comments they're getting. I could tell I was being censored. I'm censored everywhere. I'm the guy who's won more lawsuits against the government than anyone in history. They freaking hate me, right? It's a wonder I'm not dead or in prison. But I was talking to someone on the Keenan campaign who got me shadow banned for about 4 or 5 days. And I started I was putting up the same type of posts that I always did, except as opposed to 2, 3, 4, 5,000, I got 1.8 million. And I think
Views,
that
right.
is that's what I would get without being, censored and shadow banned or deboost, whatever. And then I got shadow banned again. And then I called this person who got me unshadow banned. And I got, again, over 1 million views. And then I got, shadow banned again. But if you're putting out the same type of, content,
Yeah.
to the same group of people, it should be, there should be some pattern to it, right?
Yeah.
It's not like, tomorrow on some major TV show, 10 million people watch it, and the next week nobody watches it.
Right.
So, it should be constant. Mine's like, 1.8 million, 52,
Well, and
600, right?
And especially after someone is actively helping you, boom, you see the results, and then boom, you see the clampdown again.
Yeah.
All right.
So, but here's what's creepy about it. So there's no question I'm being shadow banned. If you go to my account on X, Lloyd Chapman, you'll see that the post that's called pinned to my profile, there's 1.8 million views. And then I've got, very similar things on similar topics that are, don't have 1,000. But here's what's creepy. Elon Musk doesn't control X. No, he absolutely does not control X. I've seen Musk defend free speech just as aggressively as anyone ever.
Right.
I've seen multiple interviews where people say, you know what, if you say that, Tesla stock is going to go down, blah, you're going to lose advertising. And he actually said in some interview, I think Disney had cut advertising on X. And this interviewer said, is that going to, how's that going to affect you? And Musk says, if you think you can blackmail with money, go fuck yourself. Right? He said, is that clear? Yeah. He said it again, go fuck yourself. Right?
Yeah. And you're deducing
Bob
from
Iger, the president of Disney, was in the audience. He said, you hear that, Bob? Right? So he's stated repeatedly that he doesn't care if he loses billions of dollars. He's for free speech. Right. And yet here people are on X. By the way, go to search on shadow ban on X. There's like 100 stories. So it's not like Lloyd Chapman, some conspiracy nut. Go
Right.
to out there in the world and look on shadow banned censored on X. There's just stories all day long. So why is Musk allowing that? So why is the most aggressive, virulent free speech advocate in history? He says he bought X so people could have free speech. That's why he bought it, right? Wasn't a
So
good business move, I don't think, right?
so he doesn't know, he's just
Well,
not
how
dating.
can he not know? How can he not know? By the way, last
So
night,
how
yeah,
do you,
he
how do
liked
you
a comment that I put on there.
he
I
did?
put a
Okay.
comment and he put a little, he liked it, whatever.
All
But
right.
yeah, how
So
can he
it's
not know?
all right. So it's a mystery. It raises
Well,
there's
who's
an issue
controlling?
there.
See, if Elon Musk is controlling X, who's controlling it, and why is he allowing them to control it?
Right. Right.
So,
It's a good
um,
question.
yeah, it is a good question. So again, I like facts. I've been on. I think I've debated as many as like five other people live, real time on national television. I've never lost because I don't have that many opinions. I just talk about facts, right?
All right. All right.
So, yeah, you can't have 18,000 followers, up to 1.8 million views, and then put something out and get less than 1,000 people. That's just not possible, right?
All right.
Um, if you don't know that much about X, I follow people and they follow me. By the way, I've started a second account on X called Censored on X, and I
Okay.
put all the examples of my followers have sent me saying I haven't seen anything you've written in months, right? I'm not seeing anything my followers. So I've got maybe 50
Right.
people maybe 100 that I recognize. I recognize their names, right?
Right.
One is a lady, a spotless dog, right? I see her all the time, and I won't see them for months. So I guess what I'm talking about is we're being censored everywhere. Me, Lloyd Chapman being censored on X, just an example. It's not that the stories about Lloyd Chapman being censored on X. It's about the fact that someone is censoring people on X. I guess, is that the largest social media platform in the world? I think it is, right?
It's one of the top,
Yeah.
in my
I hear,
impression.
well, you know what? You and I have discussed this. We don't put this on YouTube because you'll get, censored on YouTube, right?
I
YouTube
think
doesn't
the
like it.
odds are we would be, yeah.
Yeah. I've heard Russell Brand, talk about that. He was getting censored on YouTube, right? By the way, I got censored on YouTube, years ago,
Yeah.
just factual things like reading, okay, here's a report from the Government Accountability Office says,
Right.
Fortune 500 firms get small business, and that would get, censored, right?
Are you being censored because you're such a Trump supporter? Are you being censored because you're you and all the algorithms that are triggered by your name for the last 10 years because of the small business advocacy? What do you think's going on?
I'm being censored because I've sued the government. It's got to be the federal government. It's not the Boy Scouts or Nabisco or Coca-Cola that's censoring me, right? It's the
Right,
freaking
right,
government, right?
right.
So I've got cases against the government right now. They're going to be $500,000 for a lawsuit that I won against the SBA.
Is the federal government doing it in partnership with X, or are they hacking and manipulating X?
I think, let's just say this. When Elon Musk bought Twitter, he laid off 3,000 people. And the people he laid off were the censors. He
Fair.
said,
That's a fair assumption. That's a fair
yeah, he was talking to Tucker
speculation.
Carlson. Yeah, he laid off 3,000 people.
Okay.
Where do you think those guys went? Right? They're not,
Right.
they're working for somebody censoring people on X. Those are the people, like, where's the guy that wrote that algorithm? Where's that guy, right?
So they might be infiltrated from outside by
Well,
all these XX employees. And yeah,
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 those people are working for the NSA, the CIA,
sure.
the Pentagon, all
All
over the
right.
place.
All right.
And mainly they're working for government contractors. So there are
All right.
companies out there that get contracts with the government to suppress stories. One of my lawyers in San Francisco told me that suppressing people like me was $1 billion industry in New York. My late wonderful lawyer John Cuneo told me that suppressing people like me was $1 billion industry in Washington. So a lot of people may not know this, it's called reputation management. So reputation management is basically killing stories. So when Harvey Weinstein was accused of molesting all those women, he hired a reputation management firm to kill the stories.
Wow.
So public relations are two things. Get people to, I've got a new flavor of Coke. Let's get everybody to know that. Or, I'm accused of molesting, 15 women. Let's kill that story, right? That's
Yeah.
called reputation management.
Okay.
So yeah, I've got one of the largest reputation management firms on the planet, on my case, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
if not more than one, and in different
I,
cities.
I
Yeah.
would, I think there's probably two from what I've seen. I actually sued the government several years ago and got a copy of a contract they had with a company called APCO. So if you want to see something interesting, go look at APCO worldwide and look down there under controversies. How when the EPA came out with a report that said secondhand smoke causes cancer, uh, ABCO and Philip Morris started a fake medical group to refute those findings. Go read that. It's fascinating. ABCO Worldwide on Wikipedia, and look down under controversies, I think it is, about how they started a fake medical organization to refute EPA finding that secondhand smoke causes cancer.
This reminds me of the conversation that we just had with publisher Chris Milligan of Trying Day, where the warning was given. We all kind of understood that there are so many claims and counterclaims, and now you're describing $1 billion plus industry to create counter information, misinformation, disinformation. How slow folks should be before they flatter themselves that I'm certain that I know the truth about any situation, especially current events, because the chaos is out there and we're being pulled every which way but loose.
I'll tell you something funny. I talked to a family member a few weeks ago, and I was shocked at their opinion about politics.
And
But
it's
then
all from mainstream news. They watch CNN, they watch
yeah,
NBC. Yeah,
yeah.
you
If
called.
you're
Yeah,
watching
yeah.
CNN, ABC, NBC, CBS, that's what you're going to think. Here's something I want to throw out there. Um, I believe in the last 24 to 36 months, CNN's lost 40% of their ad revenue. You can search on that. So search on CNN lost 40% of their ad revenue. Now, most of the money to CNN, ABC, NBC, CBS is drug ads,
Yep.
right? Ads for farm. You can see that when you watch
Oh,
television.
absolutely.
Always drug ads, right? And Bobby Kennedy said if he was elected president, he's going to pass legislation to stop drug companies from advertising on national television, like every other country on the planet,
Except for
right?
maybe one other. Yeah, yeah.
I think it's New Zealand,
I think
right? So England, Germany, France, Norway, Switzerland, they don't allow
it's
drug to advertise
it's
on television. Only
it's
America.
it's
So
ridiculous. Yeah.
yeah, so that's why the mainstream media was really didn't like Kennedy. Wasn't He's not a great amazing
Right.
guy. So
Right.
now he's working with Trump. And I think the mainstream media is concerned, rightly so, that if Trump's
Yeah.
elected, all this drug ad money is going to go away. CNN, I think, will go bankrupt. So
Right.
they've lost 40%.
Wow.
They'll lose, half of what they've got left if Trump is elected.
Right.
Yeah, they're not for Trump. They no matter who was running,
Right.
no matter who was running against Trump, if it was, Charles Manson, oh, he's reformed, he's learned his lesson, he's going to be a good guy now, right? Yeah, anybody but Trump, because they don't want to lose all that ad revenue, right? And of course, the big pharma, think of the power they've got. They don't want to. If big pharma can't advertise on national television, their sales are going to drop tremendously, right?
Right.
So
Right.
you've got big pharma, mainstream media all working together, to defeat Trump. So if you're just a normal person watching television, you're not getting the truth.
Lloyd, we've just talked about stuff that we have talked about in other shows.
Yeah.
And what's on your mind? This is the Thursday before Election Day. Okay, so the next time we do a show, it might be after Election Day. So whenever you and I click back on this, or if anyone finds this in the future, what do you want to reflect on or discuss or or debate or ponder at this moment in time? What do you
All right.
see? What do you see today, and what do you think about the election coming up?
I think Trump's going to win. When you see his rallies, he filled up Madison Square Garden. There was like thousands of people outside. Every time Trump has a rally, there's like 100,000 people.
Yeah.
Kamala Harris couldn't fill up Madison Square Garden without bussing people in, right? So she seems to not be doing well. I don't. She's just every interview she's done, she says things that are really kind of crazy or sounds, stupid, right? There's too many clips on YouTube of her just looking very stupid, right? It's pretty obvious
I have to agree. A lot
someone's
of
telling her
people,
what to say in her ear, or she's
I don't
teleprompter,
know
stuff
about
like that.
that, but yeah,
But
yeah.
Trump, I think Trump's going to win. And again, I'm not a Trump guy. If you talked to me before Bobby Kennedy endorsed Trump, I don't like Trump, but he's the lesser of two evils. Um, objectively, let's just look at stuff objectively. Do you support bankrupting America with foreign aid so we don't have enough money to take care of hurricane victims? So FEMA and the SBA out of money. Do you support that? Would you
No,
vote for that? Right?
no.
Are you in favor of World War III? Do you want to see, global thermal nuclear war? Right? That's what's happening. That's what's happening like this week, right? Um,
By many
yeah,
measures, many experts, you're right. They are warning that we are closer to these things than at any time in the last half century or more.
yeah. America has troops on the ground in Israel.
I'm reading about
Who
that.
who made that decision? By the way, you're smarter than I am about this stuff. Did Congress vote on that? I
No,
don't think so.
I don't think so.
I think we all know that Biden's not with it. He's got dementia. Harris is out, campaigning. Who decided to send U.S.
Well,
troops to Israel? From what I gathered, and again, you know more about this than I do, I think B-2 bombers are bombing foreign countries in the Middle East. That's a big deal. Who
I
who
gotta,
who did that?
I gotta
I, I
double
would, I
check
would,
that. I know
if
we're
someone
aiding and
sees this,
abetting. Yeah.
let me know. Lloyd Chapman would like to know who made the decision to send B-2 bombers to bomb foreign countries. I think, I don't know. Doesn't Congress have to be involved in that? Right?
Well,
Anyway,
yeah.
so yeah, I'll just have to say objectively, the Biden administration, by the way, who thinks that we need 20 or 30 million illegal aliens in America? Like, yeah, we don't have any trouble here. Everything's fine. There's no homeless. Let's get 20 million illegal aliens. Oh, by the way, and make sure there's some murders, some drug dealers, child traffickers, right? Let's get some of those guys in here. Who the hell thought that was a good idea?
What do
So
you, what,
that's all happened. That's a fact. It's not a conspiracy theory that the borders are open and millions of people are coming across the border, right? That's not a conspiracy theory. We're
what,
35 trillion in debt.
yeah.
So who thinks that's a good idea? Does
And
anyone think that's a good idea?
no. And what's your thinking about or your impression of the likelihood of the reaction, no matter who wins? Have we just been sold a lot of fear porn because it gets eyeballs on screens? It's just for ratings to send the message that no matter who wins, you can expect violence from the other side. What's your thought or impression about
If
that?
if Harris wins, let's just say this. I think it was the summer of 2023. You can look it up. Harris broke the record for the lowest approval rating of any VP in modern history.
I think it
She
was this
broke
past
the
summer.
record for
It
the
was
lowest
just,
approval rating in history.
I think it was just a few months ago.
Yeah, it's impossible. Now she's going to be president. That's impossible.
Well, the
It's
question,
impossible.
okay, but is there going to be violence
Yeah,
if she wins or if he wins?
if she's elected, I think it could literally prompt a civil war. I really do. Uh, because
What if he's elected?
I think that the Democrats, they're not, we're not going to have, riots and people shooting people, I don't think, but they're going to try to block Trump from taking offices with some other, bullshit, right? But people don't realize this isn't an election. This is a coup attempt. This is a full tilt boogie coup attempt where Biden Harris let millions of illegals into the country for the sole purpose of getting her elected president. By the way, think about, and again, you know more about this than I do. When was the last time somebody was anointed the Democratic nominee for president? No primary, no nothing. It's
Well,
her. Take it or leave it. Right?
this is
That's
the
never
most
happened before, has it?
it's happened. This is the most blatant this past summer, the way Biden got the nomination without primary contests and the way we don't know how it was given to her. I don't think the details have been released, or there's a I think a thin story as to how come she became the nominee without any other process. But in 2020 and 2016, even though there were primaries, I think it's fairly established. It was skullduggery and machinations behind the scenes that stole the Democrat nomination from Bernie Sanders in 2016 and in
Yeah.
2020. First for Hillary and then for Biden.
Yeah.
So
My
by those measures, we're a banana republic. That's how corrupt we are. That's how uh, those are, that's how improvable we are. Those are areas we are improvable as a
Yeah. Well, to
country.
say, if I'm talking to the biggest Kamala Harris, advocate, do you approve of letting non-citizens vote? Is that what you want? Do you think we need, uh, I think it's over 20 million people coming across it. We don't know if they're terrorists or child molesters or rapists or murderers. We don't know who they are. We don't have a clue, right?
Right,
They're just flowing across the border like it's Mardi Gras, in New Orleans, right?
right.
And Venezuelan drug gangs are taking over apartment buildings and stuff like that, right? Who thinks that's a good idea? Who thinks we need that? Let's see, we're
There's,
bankrupt. We've got homeless problems, we got all these problems. Let's get 20 million illegals and let's let them vote. That's
it
insane.
in our
That's
we
insane. The woman who broke the record, like 18 months ago for the lowest approval rating in history,
right,
no way on earth she
right,
could be elected president. That's just impossible.
right.
Only 23% of voters in this country identify as Democrats. 77% of Republicans are independents, right?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
By the way, I won't go into the fact that she's raised more money than anybody in history. So the least popular VP in history has raised more money than anyone ever. I think she's out raising Trump like, 2, 3, 4 to 1. How's that happening, right? Where's that coming from? Only 23% of Americans are Democrats. How can she raise 4 times as much money? I'm concerned that the people that back Harris, in my opinion, are evil. They're freaking evil. Uh, I'll call it the evil empire. That's what I call it. Some people call it the deep state. I think it's worse than the deep state. The deep state is, I think, in America. To me, the evil empire is, international, right? So the people that back Harris are incredibly powerful. They're very well funded, and I think they're prepared to do anything to keep Trump from being elected president.
That's
I'm just keeping my fingers crossed that he's alive,
yeah,
on inauguration day, right?
yeah,
But
yeah.
they've tried to kill him twice, right?
We certainly are in interesting times, and you were inspired to talk about censorship in this episode.
Our First Amendment rights are being violated by the government. So Lloyd Chapman's First Amendment rights have been violated by the federal government for over 30 years, right? It's obvious. It's right there to see. Yeah, go to my X account, and the video that's pinned to my profile is 1.8 million views, and then to go down, the next one's got maybe 1,500. That's impossible. You can't go from 1.8 million to 1,500, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, it's impossible. It's impossible. So I'm really pissed off about being censored on X. I'm really, really pissed off. So I've got a new law firm in San Diego, and I went to see him about 3 weeks ago um, about suing X. Turns out they represent X.
Oh
Right.
boy.
Yeah, so I asked them to see if they couldn't, do something. But I'm going to get
Oh,
unshadow banned one way or the other. We can do it the easy way or the hard way. Here's a little thought that I had, by the way. Just a thought that popped in my mind. Elon Musk was complaining, by the way, about how dangerous it was for his employees that all the homeless and drug people around their headquarters in San Francisco, right?
I think I heard about that. Yeah.
I thought about what it'd be like is go by the X headquarters once a week and throw out several $1,000s in cash. Just kind of randomly go by there and just throw money out the window and get every homeless person in California to live right around X. Right.
And put up a
Yeah.
billboard that says "Stop shadow banning Lloyd
Yeah.
Chapman."
Yeah. I thought about, getting the In-Out Burger vehicle to pull up there and get several, what do you call them, food trucks, to feed the homeless, right across the street, right there as close as I can get to
At
the front entrance
to
of
the
X, and
entrance,
I'll pay
right?
for it. I'll pay for it,
Well,
right?
you've put them on notice, Lloyd. Your whole life and your whole passion and commitment for the truth of first, the foundation. It's your outrage at the injustice of how small businesses are deprived of what is legally theirs because of the Small Business Act from 1953.
The Small Business Act of 1953 that mandates that a minimum of 23% of all federal contracts go to small businesses is the single largest economic stimulus program for the American people in history. It's an economic stimulus program for the American people. So it doesn't matter that if you're a housewife in New Orleans, this is going to affect you and your family, right? It doesn't matter what you do or where you live. Diverting hundreds of billions a year in federal money that's supposed to go to the middle class to Fortune 500 firms is not good for the economy. In fact, it's devastating for the economy, right? So, yeah. So what I do, by the way, is not really trying to protect, small businesses. I'm trying to protect the largest economic stimulus program in the history of mankind, the Small Business Act of 1953.
Absolutely, it would revolutionize
Yeah,
our economy.
it affects everybody.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, I'll just run through this real quick. The Senate Small Business Committee says for every 1% contracts of small business go up, it creates 100,000 new jobs. The small business is supposed to get 23. They're getting 3. If Trump's elected and implements Bobby Kennedy's economic stimulus program, it's called Small Business Big Middle Class, and literally gives small businesses the full 23% they're supposed to get by law, that will double the number of net new jobs created in America on an annual basis. It will double it. That's huge.
That's
That's
tangible.
huge.
That's tangible. It's doable. It's tangible. People can learn
Yeah.
all about it and
Yeah.
more at asbl.com.
Yep. By the way,
And
people should check out Don't Cheat Women. That's my latest project to help women have a bigger voice in government.
don'tcheatwomen.com.
Don'tCheatWomen.com. Check it out. Women are half the population. They own 42% businesses, and every year of your life, companies owned by men have gotten over 95% of all federal contracts. Bobby Kennedy pledged to address that and give women up to 25%. I'm hoping that Trump will adopt that. So, yeah, I'm trying to help out women. I want women to have a stronger voice in government. I think if we had more women in government, things would probably run a lot better.
Everybody needs to be more involved in lobbying their representatives. I think starting at the local level, but definitely all the way up to the federal. Like Chris Milligan just said in our last show, there is more of us, and when enough of us are involved, it doesn't take 10%, it doesn't take 15% of the population. History has shown and studies have shown when 4 or 5% of a population galvanized behind a movement or a reform, it happens. 4 or 5% is enough to tip the decision makers or the string pullers. That's it. That's not, so this can be done. All good things can be done. I think this is a good length. What do you think?
Sounds great to me. Thanks a lot. Enjoyed talking to you. And we'll keep our fingers crossed and hope that Trump gets in because he's got the superior team. It's not Harris against Trump. It's Harris and Tim Walz against Trump, Elon Musk, Bobby Kennedy, Nicole Shanahan, Tucker Carlson, Tulsi Gabbard, the whole team. So Trump's got the better team. So just drop off Trump and Harris. Just get rid of them. And we've got Tim Walz against, Elon Musk and that dream team. By the way, here's a real quick thing. For people that like Harris, who's going to be in her administration?
Who
do you like most? We don't know. The reason you don't know who's going to be in her administration, because she knows if you knew, you wouldn't vote for her. I will say that again. The reason we do not know who she's going to pick in her administration like we do with Trump is because she knows if you knew, you wouldn't vote for her. Yeah, well, think about that.
There's a lot of people who, they're on the fence or they just can't stand Trump. And I would advise, and I've it's been 2 months since Kennedy dropped out and moved to Trump. And it's only in the last week that I feel pretty confident. I'll say that I believe, that Trump will let Bobby do the great things that he says he's going to do. And he's promising he's going to be able to do this, and this great things just in the areas of health. If Trump brought no other agenda into Washington in a new term and just helped and let Bobby do what he would do for health, that would be such good stuff that we haven't seen the likes of in
Absolutely.
60
Yet
years.
if you prefer not to die from cancer, vote for Trump because Bobby Kennedy is going to do some radical stuff to get poisons out of our food, out of our water. Harris Walls ain't
If
going to do that. So if you
if
don't
they
want to
if
die
they
of cancer, vote for Trump to get Bobby Kennedy in there and get this stuff, cleaned up. All right.
I can't wait till the next one because the next one we do, Lloyd, is gonna be like the Thursday or Friday after the election. So
That's going to be
this is
wild.
thank you, my friend. To
All
be
right. Later.
continued, and thank you everybody for being with us today.